the biggest challenges in our ecosystem, the way it is right now, and then what led you to setting up your own venture fund, which is domiciled out of Pakistan, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, you want to talk a bit about the challenges that you're facing or you've faced over the past?
Yeah, I think the biggest, and this is in the study that's coming out, I feel like I'm doing a shout out to the study, but it's free, and if you want to read it, that's great. It'll be good for you to understand this better. The number one thing, and actually we came out with a study in 2014, 2016, and 2019, the biggest challenge is the same, which is the regulatory environment in Pakistan is one of the hardest places. Even now, we just improved 28 spots to 101 out of 190 countries. And we're happy that we improved 28 spots, but 101 out of 190 is still not great, right? And there's a lot more to go. It's really hard to not only build a business here, it's hard to be an investor. And so when you're speaking to your question of, what it means for our fund, so much of what I've seen working with startups, and also now I've worked with a lot of angel investors in Pakistan really since the early days of angel investing here. Yusuf John was the very first angel that invested in one of our startups in our first cohort, and has been a super angel in this ecosystem. I think he's amazing. I've seen, for me, what a lack of trust in an environment like Pakistan, what it can do. Right? Not only because our regulatory environment it doesn't reinforce this idea of trust. Obviously, if people have ideas that can't be protected, people want to protect their ideas from each other. It means that investors are afraid that someone might run away with their money. So the way that they might behave is influenced by that. And oftentimes, while trust seems like a very soft way for me to put it, it really does boil down to the regulatory environment. We can actually build frameworks and we can actually build policy that can improve ways that, intellectual property is protected, the way that, frameworks in terms of how we protect our investors, how we protect entrepreneurs, how we think about how money flows in and out. Right now, the reason we're domiciled is it's really difficult from an investment perspective to be able to raise money from Pakistan and also to set up a fund here. So to set up a fund is really hard. This is in our report. The private funds legislation is not very amenable for investment funds to set up in Pakistan. So pretty much most of us are set up outside with the intention of investing in Pakistan, right? But then as a result, we cannot raise from inside the country because money can't get out, right? So in Pakistan, we always talk about liquidity. There is so much, we always say over and over again, there's liquidity in Pakistan, there's liquidity in Pakistan. And that is very true. There's a lot of money here. But if you have investment funds that want to invest in startups and really professionalize and make the startup ecosystem more sophisticated, if you are not actually incentivizing, if you're not incentivizing the funds by allowing them to raise from that, then we all have to compete for the same amount of resources. Then funds have to compete because we're all domiciled outside. We have to raise from the same smaller pool of money. And then that doesn't actually improve collaboration. Again, that comes down to trust, right? That automatically breaks down trust that could be happening between investors as well, and in terms of deal sharing and due diligence and things like that. So for me, the regulatory environment is big, and I say that because it influences every other behavior that I've seen in this ecosystem that hasn't been very positive.